we heard today, as I read from the Torah, buried amongst the beautiful passages in this parasha, we have the Shema and the 10 Commandments for which we stood. This gives us a view into the moral basis of Judaism. When you look at our Torah, what is it? It is nothing but laws which underpin mankind's actions so that we will not kill each other or hate each other, desire that which we should not, and land up with a possibility, as we are in the world today, perhaps, please God, no, as they say in Yiddish, Chalila, Chalila, Chalila. What does that mean? Jacob, what is Chalila? It means, please God, no, 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 on the brink of war. This is all through leaving the laws, the expansion of the 10 Commandments, and wanting things out of greed and power, having the wrong motivation. So, and you heard me read these words, and I want to refer to them because Judaism actually requires you and I to go, and mankind to go far beyond the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments, and even the expanded version of the Halakha, mentions so many incidences, the way that we should lead our lives. But I read to you these words: be very vigilant to keep the commandments of the Lord your God and the testimonies and decrees. But in addition to that, do what is right and what is good in the Lord's eyes, that he hasn't written down, so that it may go well with you and you may live and possess the land in peace. This difficulty is obvious. The preceding verses refers to commandments, testimonies, decrees. Okay, we know all that, but what on earth does it mean by the phrase, do which that is right and good in the Lord's eyes? Why add that? Isn't that unnecessary after we've already read the commandments and the halakha? What does it mean, what is good and right in the Lord's eyes? That's where they leave it up to each and every one of us to make the decision of how to act in any particular circumstances, which needs more than just following rules. It needs you to feel what the other person is feeling. It needs you to change the tone of your voice, perhaps when you're speaking to someone who's in great pain, or perhaps it needs you and your imagination to think what a person who is in such deep agony, they don't want to talk. They've rejected people. God forbid, they may be on the point of giving up. It needs you to listen to your own voice inside, the voice of Hashem, to tell you what is right and good in any particular circumstances. Rashi says it refers to perhaps even compromising with the law in Judaism. For example, on Yom Kippur, if you're ill and you've got to eat something before you take medicine, it's allowed. There is a law for every exception. But the exception has to always be for the goodness of the person concerned. So Rashi refers to this going beyond the letter of the law. And it's lifnim mi shurat hadim. The law, as it were, lays down just the minimum that we've got to do. But the moral life, and I wish I'd find another word, Serena, for moral. It means that is which you feel is good in the sight of God. I don't know, it's moral. But the moral life tells us we've got to go beyond even the law. The people who most impress us with their goodness and righteousness are not people who just keep the law, but those who've seen a particular suffering in you, those who related to something when they saw something in pain, perhaps an animal. So one has to go that extra mile. So Rashi believes that the sages and heroes have gone that extra mile. They've interpreted the law themselves according to the particular issue. And this is what the Torah means when it says, go beyond, do what is right and good. Rambam, of course, sees things a little bit differently. And he says, at first Moses said that you are to keep his testimonies. Now he is saying there's even more. You've got to give thought as well to doing what is right and good. And now this is a great principle. This is Rambam, Maimonides speaking. For it is impossible to mention in the Torah all aspects of a human being's conduct with his friends, with his neighbors, with his family, with his loved ones, with his committee, with his congregants or hers. It's impossible to give him more examples already than we have. How many examples in halakha? Who can tell me? How much? Good, Brian, excellent. 613, exactly. And yet what the Torah says, no, there's even more to that. And all of these, you've got to expand them and do them in a way that fits the human being you're dealing with. It's as simple as that. Now, let's see. So to do what is right and good is even higher than doing strictly what the law requires. The law is about generalities. It's about crowds. It's universal. Don't steal, don't murder, etc., etc. But what is it to be a good husband or a good wife or a good parent or a good human being? It's more just than that. Morality is about people, and guess what? No two persons are alike. So when we saw this when Moses appointed his successor, Joshua, he needed different qualities for that era that Moses had for his. So Rashi says, the Torah is a book of law. Why doesn't it start with the first law given to the people as a whole? And why doesn't it just say, for example, do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Because that sums up the whole Torah. No, it's more than that. It's a sensitivity. It's a feeling how you should speak. Because remember, the previous drosha was all about words. God spoke. You and I speak, and it's our words, language, which help another human being, or help people to understand how they should treat nature and animals. So there is a great difference between the God of Aristotle and the God of Abraham. Aristotle, or the Greeks, only spoke in universals about crowds. The individual fell through the cracks. And we cannot let it happen. Yes, the God of science, of enlightenment, of Spinoza, etc., yes, wonderful, great to understand the universe. But how does that affect you and me, Marion, in this shul today, with our challenges, our problems? We can't look at Torah and say, what words must I use to Marion or Andili? What words must I use when I meet someone, as I did, at the ANC policy conference, who was from the sector who wishes the destruction of Israel? What words must I use? That is when we go beyond the law and we think. We don't just react. And we always look for that which is good, and in a nice way, perhaps point out what a person is doing that can be hurtful. So this is the ultimate difference between our religion and many other religions. You must never have blind faith. You must never say, yeah, I'm going to just follow the 10 commandments and everything. No, we're not a religion of blind faith. We are human beings, a religion that knows that we have the voice of God or goodness inside us. And even how we treat an enemy, if you are not threatened in a situation, as I wasn't, but with words, perhaps you can put a seed of doubt as to his actions in his mind. Of course, if you threaten physically, we react physically. So let me just conclude and say, Judaism is a religion based on two great principles: justice and love. And when you think of it, how can those go together? Isn't the law, you get up there, the judge decides what's wrong? No. Judaism says justice without love cannot be. So it treats all people alike, rich and poor, powerful, powerless, making no distinctions on the basis of color, class, or background. Love is particular. It looks at the individual in front of you. It's not just loving the world. It's loving a human being who's in pain, or it's loving your child, or your third child, or it's loving a person you can interact with and help. As we said last night, by giving to those you love, be it a human being or Baruch Hashem, the animals God has given us, by giving to them, when you receive love back, that is the only way you really know what love is. And in Judaism, the moral life is never just laws, it's always love and compassion. That is what the Torah means when it speaks of the right and the good. Above the commandments, we have to follow that which is right and good in the eyes of Hashem. And even the word Hashem the name is a God of compassion and love, who is always ready to forgive, and who is always ready to take you back onto the right path. And let me just finish that. Says Judaism, of course, loves to study, loves to question, loves to find out about all the things we discuss at shul or in shuas or when we discuss Torah. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being part of this congregation.